Smiles, everyone. Smiles. And prepare yourself for...
Show me the money!
Ladies and gentlemen, the radio broadcast experience designed to keep your wallet in top condition. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Talkin' money. Talkin' money.
More money, more money, more money.
And now entering the studio, your guru for fiscal fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
All right. Good morning, everyone. How's it going out there on a Saturday morning? We're here this morning. Jeff Tarbell, he is out. He's actually at a technical conference somewhere in Wailea in Hawaii. And we're excited to have Colin Grail here. He's with the private wealth management firm of Westlake, Grail, and Glover, along with Monica Reyes. Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good morning.
Morning, John. Doing great.
Very good. So should we give Jeff a little rationing, or what do you think?
Well, I'm sure he's still recovering from the technicalities of learning his Mai Tai ratios last night. But
Absolutely.
Got a few pictures. Look like they're having a great time. Well-deserved vacation for his 10 days back at work.
Somebody's got to do it, I guess.
The running joke is as soon as he heads out of town, the phone starts ringing. So he'll probably have his best February ever.
Of course.
With these,
He'll follow up with January.
That's right.
That's a good one.
So
how you guys doing? We got some topics here. I guess we're going to talk a little bit about money, finances, and what's going on in the big world.
Well, there's all kinds of things going on out there this week. The biggest one was, did you catch the Super Bowl Sunday?
Sure. The blackout or the...
I like to pretend that didn't happen.
Talked to my mom on the East Coast, and, they're 3 hours later. She woke up. I must have fallen asleep and thought the game was over, turned it off, and woke up the next morning and found out it was a whole different score than she thought it was, and she went to bed. So
it was definitely a different happening, and everybody's talking about how the game changed, how it started, what really happened.
Yeah, rumors have it one of the most profitable. They got to run an extra 20 minutes of commercials, so I don't know if the sponsors were expecting an extra $4 million for every 30 seconds of blackout, but we'll see how that goes. So
easy money.
Hey, as it affects our world, though, we always have the annual stock market predictor based on the Super Bowl, and this year, like a lot of other things this year and last year, is full of loopholes. But the way it goes is the Super Bowl indicator says that if the AFC wins, we will have a down market. So Ravens or AFC, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So that's not good news on the surface, right?
This is interesting. Tell me more.
NFC wins, which would have been the Niners, we would have an up market. But the loophole is the Ravens came from the Browns. They were an old Browns team that were part of the NFC. And then the new Browns came as an expansion team. So the loophole is the Ravens can be considered an NFC team of old.
So it's going to be a good year then.
So
it could be good.
So we're still hoping for an up year. Yep. So that's what we're predicting.
I like
well,
that.
actually, I can't technically predict that, but I will hope for an up year for you and me and Monica and all the rest of our clients. So
Appreciate that.
Let's see what else is out there. For those of you who sit by your mailbox on Saturdays, there could be a change coming up in August. And, the changes, I guess they are voting to save a couple $1 billion. They figure nobody's going to miss it too badly if they don't get their junk mail and bills on a Saturday. But a couple wrinkles to that. Packages are still going to get delivered. If you have a P.O. box, you'll still get your mail because the post offices are not closing. It'll just be delivered mail. And the second loophole in this, another loophole, says, okay, Postal Service is supposed to run like a business. They're supposed to have their own revenue, their own expenses, their own profit and loss. But Congress has the right to dictate how they work. So they have mandated a Saturday delivery. Because everything got goofy there at the year end and the appropriations bill didn't get passed, there's now a window that if it's not passed by the 27th, the post office can go ahead and declare no Saturday delivery, and they don't have to follow the mandate. So we'll see what Congress gets done. We'll see if they can actually agree not to do Saturday. So, you know.
I'm not going to be too devastated if I don't get my mail on Saturday. but that's just from a home standpoint. You know.
Well, I can't imagine. I don't hear anybody that is upset about it, and the stats are like 80% of the people just don't care.
Yeah.
So why not save the money? What else you got going on here? Another thing interesting. I looked at it. All this real estate activity, and I hear you and Jeff talking week after week about all this crisis in the real estate market, but realtors can't find houses to sell. If they do find one to sell, they can't find a bank to lend them money, and even a golden borrowers are frustrated with all the paperwork requirements these days to get a mortgage through the system. Am I right so far?
You're doing well.
Okay, so I just said, okay, I'm going to go out and do a
You
little.
bought a house lately?
No, I haven't, but I hear about it, and my theory is if you're on the investor side of a mortgage today, there is no way that loan's going bad because of the ringer everybody's been put through to book that loan.
Yeah, they're definitely a lot more solid than ever.
So I went out to one of the sites out there that tracks real estate activity in our area, and what it showed in Placer County and Sacramento County is there are actually more houses in pending and sold than there are houses on the market. So I don't know how that happened for the month. I guess some of that must be overflow from the month before.
Yeah, there's carryover.
But when I compare that to a year ago, there were 3 times as many houses on the market as there were sold. And now there's actually fewer houses on the market than there were sold last month.
Yeah, I mean, we're really in in this conundrum of there's not enough homes out there. The banks that have some of these foreclosures are selling them to investors in large quantities, not to, the first-time home buyer out there. On top of that, the move-up buyers that we usually have aren't willing to sell their house and move up. So there's not those homes going on the market. And then the higher-end market is just a little bit stagnant, just sitting there because people are either feeling it out. Do I buy an investment property? What do I do? And then obviously the single investors coming up and just paying cash for so many different homes. So there's not enough occurrence for more supply to go out onto the market, not knowing what the market's going to do. And, people just hold back and go, well, I think I'm still going to sit steady. We were talking a little bit before we started the show about when should you be conservative? When should you pull the trigger? And how do you make that change?
So if you're, let's say, especially a younger buyer out there right now, you're trying to figure out, are interest rates going to go lower? I don't know, but I doubt it.
Probably not.
Our prices, there's been a little bit of a run up in price. Is stuff expensive? When you compare today's prices with today's interest rates, if you're out there being a first-time home buyer or trying to rebuy if you were pushed out of the market a few years back, should we be waiting or should you be getting into this?
Yeah, no, I mean, really, we're in that area of where we were in 2001 to 2003, kind of market price in terms of homes. Rates are better than they were then. And I would say, in the last 4 to 6 months, we saw our bottom. 4 to 8 months, we saw our bottom. We always kind of tend to know when the bottom was after we're coming out of it.
After you've seen it, right.
So rates are trickling up, and they have been, as we talked about too. They're controlled right now by the government. We're going to see those go up. Inventory isn't going to just come flourishing out in greater Sacramento area. So the home builders are building, and they're booked up. I mean, they're selling houses like crazy. So, it's definitely a great time.
Yep. What we're telling our clients is, as an investment property, that's a whole different thing. You got to decide if you really want to be a landlord and be and know how to run that business. Because when you buy a rental house, that is a business. You've got to run it right and be able to afford it. But if you're looking for a house and it's a place to live and you're going to be there a while, get in the market. There's no better time between pricing and financing to get back in this market right now.
And even though you're hearing out there that, it's so hard, it's so difficult, it is. I'm not going to tell you anything different, but once you're pre-qualified, pre-approved, and you're working with a realtor and you start to narrow down what you're looking for, people start with this big open net, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, in this area, or I don't care where. Well, once they're out looking with a realtor, it really starts to dial them into more specifically where they want to be, where their kids want to go to school, or where they want their kids to go to school. So as they spend the time in it, it's a lot of work up front, but then they really hone into the area. They hone into exactly what they want. They know what they can afford. And lo and behold, day after day when you're watching, these properties come up, and then they can get in the contract.
Okay. So our advice is if it's, talk to somebody if you're not sure, but this is a time to get in the market if there ever was one. So I know Chris Verlot is just dying to chime in. So, Chris, you got anything for us?
He's playing basketball, and he's still wearing his Notre Dame and Boston hat, though. I think he's ready to roll here.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We're looking for the mind of Chris Furlad. What's he got going on?
Oh, well, the Here We Buy night is tonight, so I believe there's only about 1,000 tickets left, so get on those. It's going to be a real fun night. Unfortunately, I'm going to be working the game here, so I'm not going to be able to go out there, but they're having a tailgate around 5 o'clock. I think it's in the K parking lot. So if you get out there, it's going to be a really good time. Go inside, have fun. There's chance that they're all working out for the game. So be loud, be proud, and show the NBA why we still deserve a team.
So this isn't our last sellout we'll ever have, Chris?
No. Many years to come. Sellouts for many years to come.
Okay, well.
I got good seats on March 13th, so I'm hoping we're still playing then.
All right. So, all right. One last thing. We're getting a lot of questions on the stock market. We're at 14,000-ish. We've touched it. We can't quite get over the previous records, and everyone's saying, gosh, last couple times we got here, we saw the market plunge. Should we be selling? Should we go into cash? Are you hearing that when people you talk? Are you feeling it?
All the time, absolutely. Yeah, we're watching the stock market, give or take 14. Where's it going to go? We're sitting back, being a little conservative on what we're doing. I'm in my 40s, and investment-wise, I sit there and go, what should we be doing? Should we hold back? And then you get what's going on in the world and the economy, and everybody's trying to figure it out. So, tell me, what should we do?
I don't know, Monica. What questions are you getting?
Well, I would say for a lot of my clients, the idea is, can I or should I rely on my investment portfolio? And I think the answer to that depends on what you want it to do. So we'll talk a little bit more in depth about just retirement planning in general, but it's so individual for everybody. I think that you've got to really dig deeper with that individual person or family. Some folks might be lucky enough to not give a care in the world what the market is doing, and there's various factors that can help them feel that confidence. Others, we do have to sit down and focus on it every quarter, every 6 months, monthly if they feel like they need to. So, and it's a big depends, I guess.
Yeah, I have some numbers here. It says in terms of reverse mortgages, things like that, there's a board that put together some numbers. They say 50% Federal Reserve estimate of boomers with no retirement savings. 50% of the boomers, no retirement savings.
That's true.
It's frightening, but it's true. Yeah.
It's and then average savings of those who have saved, and this is not including home equity, $49,800. So even the ones that are saving apparently aren't doing so well.
They're not saving enough.
Yep. And there's an interesting article in the paper this week in the Wall Street Journal about retirement plans. For the last 50 years, 70 years, a lot of families have relied on pension plans. And I think in the Sacramento area especially, there's a lot of people that still do rely on those given the public sector with state employees, teachers, county, et cetera. And there's a big article about the big companies that are actually doing very well have all this cash, but now what are they having to do with their cash? And that's to go in and shore up their pension plans. Over the last 6 years, there's been about 60 of the top 1,000 companies that have gotten rid of their pension plan altogether. We're down to about 50% of the companies have a pension plan, 50% do not. This is down from about 80% if you go back about 20 years. So the trend is that companies are going to get rid of their pension plans, and it's going to put more and more pressure on people to take care of themselves. We call it the yo-yo generation. You're on your own. So, a couple examples.
And that's generally just because of the cost of it to the company?
It's so unpredictable. So what's happened here is when a company has a pension plan, they're making a promise to pay you 20 years from now based on a formula. So every year there's an actuarial calculation done that says how much should the company have on deposit today at a certain interest rate to make sure they can make good on that promise 20 years from now. And so what's happened is the interest with the assumptions coming down and the interest rate assumptions coming down, not only were companies falling behind to begin with, they've dropped their interest rate assumptions, which has meant they've had to put in a whole bunch of money. So as an example, Ford Motor, one of the companies that did not go through the taxpayer relief program, they are $18.7 billion behind on their pension payments. And they contributed $3.4 billion into the fund, $2 billion more than they had to for last year. They thought they were on track to get it all funded, and then they dropped their interest rate assumption about 0.75%, and that caused several billion more that they had to deposit in there. So the companies don't like this risk. At the time when you're having the worst productivity in your company is the time that your pension obligation goes through the roof. Same thing's happening at the state of California. At a time when the economy is in crisis, they're all of a sudden having to make bigger and bigger payments to the pension plan. And so most companies are saying, we don't want that risk. We're going to move it to, we'll put money into a retirement plan, but we want to know how much we're going to put in every single year. And those are called defined contribution plans, more typically a 401k or profit sharing plan. So it's a big thing going on. And it's also, there's a ton of money going from these corporations into their retirement plans. And when they put it into the retirement plan, where do they put it? They have to invest it. And so there's billions being moved into the markets by these big companies now having the cash to fund their retirement plans. So there's a lot of impact to this. But as we think long term, what you're going to see is a lot of talk about getting rid of pension plans and moving the responsibility back to the individuals. And it's already starting at the government level too.
Yo-yo, huh? I like that.
Yo-yo. So I see Chris giving us the hook here. We need to take a break.
And folks,
as we do that, I do want to say hello to two of our youngest listeners out there in Orangevale, Miranda and Jenna. Good morning, Miranda and Jenna. So thanks for listening. Get your dad to put some money away for retirement, would you?
Absolutely. So folks, we're here. You can call us or text us at 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Questions for our wealth advisors, wealth management firm. We got Colin Grail. We have Monica Reyes, and they're here giving us a little tidbit on what's going on in the world of finance. So any questions, give us a call, shoot us a text, and you can text us at 441140. We have a quiz question. We have some our typical, not typical, but our this time of the year. We have our Sierra at Tahoe ski resort lift passes. We also have some of the beloved Jim Boy's Tacos out there. So I was at a Eastern Little League fundraiser last night, and obviously there was a little bit of beer drinking, and even though you're not allowed to do that, but sometimes we break the rules. Anyhow, the question is, the U.S. government blocked the world's biggest beer maker from spending how much money to stop Anheuser-Busch from purchasing the company that's taken over Corona? So how much were they going to spend in dollars? And it's a huge number, but this was to stop the takeover on the big beer merger. So give us a call, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Colin Grail, Monica Reyes, this is John Fodorero, and we'll be right back.
Talkin' money.
Well, alrighty then. We're back to Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Good morning. We're back here, and Jeff Tarbell is not here. He's out vacationing from his vacation. This is John Fodorero. I'm here. Thankfully, we're here with Colin Grail, Monica Reyes, and they're from the private wealth management firm of Westlake, Grail, and Glover in Granite Bay here locally. So we're glad to have them here. And let's start off. And
thanks for having us, John.
It's good to have you guys here always.
Do we have a winner to our quiz?
We do, actually. So we have a couple winners. Let's take two. We're going to take one off the text line, and from our caller, we'll have another. So our government stopped the world, or suing to block the world's biggest beer maker from spending $20 billion to get even bigger. So Anheuser-Busch is looking to get stopped to take over Mexican company that owns the Corona brand. A little bit of money involved in that alcohol stuff. So tell us what about money. What do you guys got going on here locally?
Well, now that everybody's awake and excited, we're going to launch into Saturday morning retirement planning topic, huh?
I think talking about beer would have been easier.
Everybody's that's shaking off their beer from last night. So we're going to roll into this. One of our big focuses is being a retirement resource. We have a lot of clients that are either thinking about retirement, getting ready for retirement, or in retirement. It pretty much covers everybody, don't you think?
Absolutely.
So this is kind of a core topic that's out there. And every day we're talking to our clients, and we've been talking to clients about what their concerns are. And, the concerns are really, when we talk to clients, they're really not about their portfolio. The media has trained them to talk about their portfolio. Portfolio is really important. It's the tool that we use to help pay for everything. But when people come to our office, that's usually not why they're there. They're there and they fall into, really what I say is they fall into 4 different categories. And there's a key word in 3 of them. First category is those that are really scared and they're paralyzed. They're scared, but they don't know what to do, or they don't know if they can do something. They've lost a job, or they're worried about their job. They're taking care of children, grandchildren, parents. They just don't know if they have enough money. And, some of these people are also worried about their healthcare system. So they're scared, and they're just having a hard time moving forward. The second category is those that are scared, but they're with all the same concerns, but they're ready to go. They've kind of thought out their emotions. They've gotten past some of the things that may have happened in the last 5 years, maybe the last 10 years, and they're ready to start moving forward again. Then there's this bigger group that I would say is what I'll call this group that's scared but in denial. Typical profile of this group is, they usually have good income, family income, household income between husband and wife, $100,000 to $250,000 a year. They're typically in their 50s. They may have some savings, but it's usually 1 to 2 times their annual earnings, which sounds like a lot of money when they look at their statement. They may have 2, 3, even 400,000 in their investment accounts, and then when you say that's 2 years worth of earning, they kind of go, "Wow." They might still have a mortgage, or a brand new mortgage in their 50s, and so they just have no idea what it's going to take to keep this lifestyle going that they've built for themselves. There'll be some changes. Kids will hopefully graduate and move out of the house, get off the parent payroll, so to speak. Maybe they won't be paying car insurance on 3 and 4 cars. They'll go down to 2. But they really have no idea how much capital and income it's going to take to support a lifestyle that they're used to that costs $100,000, $200,000, $250,000 a year. And then our 4th category is those that are just in a great position. They're savers. They keep accumulating money. They've been scared for a long time. They were trained by their parents from the Depression, and they're frugal and they save money. And that's the group that we have to convince to actually enjoy their money. That convince them that they shouldn't be scared by everything going on out there, that they've positioned themselves properly, and that they have the freedom to go out and do their wish list or their bucket list.
See that all the time. Definitely. You can almost peg them how much money they have saved, what their credit score is going to be.
So our days are very psychotic. Meet with one client where we're saying, you're fine, really, you're fine. Go out, plan a trip, take the family to Hawaii, do whatever you want to do that's on your list. The next appointment, we've got both hands on the reins saying, come on, we need to do something or else you're never going to retire. And don't throw in the towel. So that's kind of, that's the general public. They fall into those 4 categories, and doesn't matter what their income is. It's kind of what decisions they've made and some of the circumstances that they've found themselves put in, some in their control, some not in their control. And so what we've done is we're trying to break this down. And so what I'd like Monica to do is, what's the conversation like that we're having with clients right now around this? How are we simplifying this so the average layperson can get their mind around, okay, so what do I do?
Right. No, absolutely, Colin. Because you've mentioned there's these 4 different groups and we see them every single day, the nice thing about having a really straightforward concept, or very straightforward framework, is that no matter which of those categories you fall in, these things apply, and in different ways. So, we like to think of it as 4 key areas that we think that everyone's affected by in some way, and then what do they do given their current situation, and how can we help them plan to make sure that they're answering some of those questions. Imagine a pyramid, if you will. So something that, we know that pyramids stand the test of time, but the very big foundations that they have to be structurally sound. And for anybody that is getting ready for retirement, or is currently in retirement, or wondering if they ever could retire, one of the main things they're concerned about is, well, how am I going to live? We call these covering your essentials. What are the essentials? These are going to be your have to pay fors, the mortgage, the bills, food, communication, transportation, all of the things that just simply have to be paid for in order for you to live your life day by day. If that bottom piece is structurally sound, we hope that clients can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, taking them up to the next levels of that pyramid, if you will. The next piece is ensuring lifestyle. So when we think about retirement, we have our bucket list, our wishes, our goals. These are the things that would be nice to have. And I think clients are questioning, can I get there? And so that's something that we help clients identify as well. The third area is preparing for the unexpected. As planners today, we're going to tell you, emergency fund, what can go wrong, what if this happens. Let's make sure that you're safe there as well. There's got to be a protection plan in place. And then lastly, the fourth area, if all goes well and we've created a nice, solid plan, should there be anything left, is this something that, from a legacy standpoint, do you want to make sure that your loved ones, your favorite charities, or does that check bounce on the way out on your last day here on the earth? What is it that you want? And let's make sure that we can plan for it. So 4 areas that you can imagine, whether you're scared and in denial, scared and paralyzed, scared but ready to get to work, or you're doing fine. All 4 of those areas will have very different meaning to you. And that's what we try to flesh out in our conversations.
In fact, we've got a white paper that kind of captures all of this that you can we can send you. And if you want to get that, what you have to do is just go into our website, wggadvisorgroup.com, click the button that says team, and send either Monica or I an email, either to Monica Reyes or Colin Grail. And, we'll shoot that white paper out to you. It's a research report. It's kind of an overview of the concepts that you just heard, and we can get that out to you.
So if you're not sure if you're A, B, C, or D, and you think you might be E, you should probably take a look at this form.
Yep, and a lot of times, if you happen to be married, you're not necessarily in the same place, and so part of our job is to try to also bring the emotions of the situation together so that we can start to move forward. Because a lot of times, a husband will be in one place and a wife will be in the other, and trying to get them to the same place so we can move forward is often a big part of our job. And that's the stuff that computers can't do for us. A lot of people think technology can handle all this. Everything can be done online. Everything can be done over the telephone. But this money stuff is very, very emotional.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's very, very behavioral. I can take 10 people with the same income over time, and their outcomes will be entirely different. And it's all based on the little decisions that we make day in and day out, and as a family. So that's the fun part of our job.
So if you have a plan, it's usually a little easier.
It's a plan.
You're not running on emotion, right?
Right. Well, and especially to know at a critical point that we've already thought about it. We've already talked about it. It's not a big emotional decision. It's just a decision. So I think that the neat thing, like Colin said about what we do for our clients and our families, is it's an art and a science. I'm not a very scientific, analytical person, but I feel like if I can understand what's important to a client about retirement or about a certain goal, then we can do almost anything with that.
So as me, the client that's trying to make decisions day in, day out, if I have a plan, it probably makes my decision making a whole lot easier.
Oh yeah.
Makes your decision making easier, and especially under pressure.
Right.
Because when things. It's easy when things are just loping along, but when something drastic happens, either in your personal life or in the economy, if you don't have something to go back to say, okay, what did we say we would do in this situation, then you make the wrong decision. It becomes very emotional versus going back to the plan under pressure. And so
I know it well.
So it's no different than sports. You practice, not for the easy stuff. It's for the hard stuff that it's ingrained what to do under pressure. And that's what our planning process does. Mm-hmm. So, let's start to break this down a little bit. We just threw a whole bunch of information out there, and let's talk about the difference between essentials and discretionary expenses. And I want to focus on the essentials because when I start talking about this with clients, it's not necessarily survival, but it is your fixed expenses. A big one that we see is mortgages. So there's a lot of debate out there right now. At 3%, should I pay off my mortgage? Why would I pay off my mortgage at 3% when I can invest my money in something else? And I don't disagree with that argument on paper, but what I find is in the essential area, these are the things that month in and month out, you've already made a decision, you've signed up for them, that is part of your life, that you need to pay these every month. Where is that money going to come from? We like it to come from a fixed income source. So if you've got a mortgage, regardless how the stock market's doing, you need to pay that mortgage every single month. When the markets are doing well and the economy's up or the stock market's up, it's really easy to do that out of your portfolio. For the last 5 years, if you've had a big mortgage payment and it had to come from your investment portfolio, how would that have fared over the last 5 years, regardless of the interest rate of the mortgage?
Sounds like a double negative to me.
Portfolio's down, you're having to sell shares to pay a mortgage, and even when the market corrects, now you've chewed up a bunch of your portfolio to cover a fixed expense because you had to pay that mortgage.
Right.
Well, most people had to pay their mortgage. So so what we like to do in the planning is say, let's identify your essentials and let's have a plan to have that as low as possible, or at least to know where they're coming from. So the argument of should I pay this mortgage off, if you've got a big pension or a couple pensions in the household along with Social Security, and you've got more fixed income than you need and you want to maintain your mortgage, no problem. We know where that payment's coming from through thick and thin. But if you don't have much of a pension and you don't have much Social Security and you still want to have a big mortgage, now we know that's going to have to come from a variable portfolio. Or if it's fixed, it's going to be at a low interest rate, just like the mortgage is. So we're trying to match up our essentials, and we want the stuff that we know we have to pay to come from fixed income. If you don't have, so pensions and Social Security, we start there. But if you don't have those tools, then we want to create that through your financial plan and in your investment world. So that if you think back to the probably parents, grandparents, and they said, I'm not worried, I paid off my debt, and I've got a pension. No matter what happens in the world, I'll be fine. And that's where we want to get our clients to, that says, the stuff I know I have to pay, I'll be fine. The second category then becomes discretionary expenses and what we call lifestyle. And lifestyle doesn't mean that it's all
vacations and hobbies and beer drinking.
Okay, and so we're gonna talk a little bit more about this in just a few minutes. We're getting the hook once again. We just can't.
Break time.
Having too much fun. So John's gonna throw out a quick quiz question.
Yeah, we're gonna take either our first text line and or first two. So text line or phone call in. The Nielsen e-poll of America's 10 most disliked athletes, top 10. So I want to hear your top 2 of those 10 most disliked athletes from that Nielsen e-poll. And again, this is Colin Grail, this is Monica Reyes, and I'm John Fotorero, and we'll be right back, Jack.
Talkin' money.
And we're back to Talkin' Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
This is a much better looking Jeff Tarbell.
Maybe not as tan, though.
Yeah. You're lacking on the tan, though.
I don't think Jeff Tarbell tans, to be honest with you. But folks, we're back. This is John Fotorero. I'm here with Colin Grail and with Monica Reyes, and they're with the private wealth management firm of Westlake, Grail, and Glover. And let's continue. I just want to read off the Nielsen e-poll. So we have a couple of texters and call-ins, but quite the list of top 10 most disliked athletes. So love to hear who you guys are thinking. It does seem like Armstrong and Monty Teo is leading that list. But
I even got a response from Carol in Chicago. I don't think she'll be able to take advantage of the ski passes or the Jim Boy's tacos, but she says Lance Armstrong and the guy with the invisible girlfriend.
There you go.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks for listening. And Jeff's actually texting in to say how it's going. I don't know. How do you guys think it's going? Give Jeff Tarbell a call if you want to let him know at 718-5171. So, he's in, I guess, drinking some coffee on a lanai in Maui and can't stay away. He has to wonder how things are going here.
And our friend in the 530 is loving our show this morning, so we appreciate that.
All right. So where were we? I know we were in the
talking about fun stuff.
Okay.
Investment, when to, when not to, how to, and something about lifestyle.
Yeah, we're trying to build up our retirement picture here, and we're talking about essential expenses and what that is, and now we're going to talk about what are lifestyle expenses. So when we're helping people prepare for retirement, we talk about essentials, everything you got to pay, and then we get into the lifestyle, everything people are looking forward to. So Monica, kind of walk us through how we think about lifestyle expenses.
Well, with the lifestyle expenses, like you said, Colin, it's not always just the fun stuff. It could be spoiling grandkids. It could be traveling, could be golfing, though not for me. But also thinking that, when a lifestyle expense, it doesn't have to only be fun. I mean, I went out and, purchased myself a new truck recently. I picked it out myself. I picked it out with camping in mind, but is that a lifestyle expense because I wanted it? Got a loan on the truck. Going to have to say that that's an essential. I'm on the hook to pay for that. So, clients need to be careful about what they're determining as lifestyle versus essential. It could kind of bleed into both areas.
Yeah, so as long as you've got that payment, it's a lifestyle or it's an essential. But once it's paid off, the next time you go to buy a car, you can decide what you can afford. And but this is the area that we want to have a lot bigger than the essentials if we can. And how we pay for that, we're not as concerned about paying for it with fixed income. In fact, we want some assets in there that are going to hedge inflation over the long run so that you can maintain your lifestyle. So our strategy is very different. So as we start to build the retirement picture, once we've shown people how to pay their essentials, we see these, and that it's going to happen someday that people get to retire, we see the stress level go down. Then we say the next thing is, okay, so what's retirement all about? What are you going to do with your time? And let's build a portfolio to pay for that. And often that's a variable portfolio with a side fund of cash to cover the things that are coming up. So, we can spend more when times are good. We can dial it back a little bit when things aren't as good. The key here is that it is discretionary, that lifestyle we want it to be as good as it can be long term, but it is fungible. It can move higher, it can move lower. When times are good, we can scrape money off the portfolio and put it in cash. One of the things that we do with our clients each year is one of the first things we do early in the year is try to identify what are the big expenses throughout the year. And when we're at a time like this where the market's had a nice rise, we're not saying go to cash, but we might go to cash for the money we're going to spend. So if somebody says, yeah, I'm going to put a roof on this fall, I'll say, hey, let's put it in cash. I don't know what's going to happen over the next 6 months. Let's scrape that off. If the market's down, I might say, well, do you have to do it this year? Could you do it next year? When's going to be our time to identify that money? And that's kind of how we think of lifestyle expenses, so that we can hedge long-term the inflation and take advantage of the markets and the variable portfolios.
And I think what that also does, Colin, it gives clients, that freedom that the money is theirs. It is for them to enjoy. It's for them to live. It's just doing it at a practical, smart level, so they don't have to worry when the roof starts leaking or when they get to that special trip or want to replace that car. So I think it gives clients a sense of, I still control this in a way where I can't control the market. If there's something I want, I can have that. Let's just be smart about it and plan for it.
Practical and smart.
Uh-huh.
I'm scared.
Do those two go together?
I know. Am I asking too much, John?
I don't know. This is we're Jim Boy's taco eaters over here. Practical and smart. I like that.
So once we get through those first two areas, that's where clients want to talk. Here's how I live. How am I going to pay for that? Once we've answered all of that and people are good with that, then we have to go to the next layer. And that's really talking about preparing for the unexpected, or what we call the certainty of uncertainty. These are the potholes in life. We know things are going to happen. We don't know what. We don't know how badly. We don't know how long it'll last or how expensive it'll be. But there's going to be little zigs and zags to our plan. And so the next layer is protecting the things that we can't afford to lose and just being prepared for those unexpected. So again, when a crisis happens, we go back to the plan and we say, no problem, we've thought of that. Here's our plan. So Monica, why don't you walk us through what the various categories under this layer of our retirement plan is?
Sure. Well, aside from the obvious, I need an emergency fund, if the roof starts to leak. When we're talking about retirement, the things that really could get you off track. I mean, we call it the Achilles heels, if you will, of retirement. A lot of folks are worried about medical. What about long-term care, nursing home? They've experienced seeing maybe their parents, other people. Everyone's raising their hand in the studio here because it's a reality of growing old. So medical, long-term care, that's a big concern of a lot of our retired clients, or those that are saying, well, what happens if, these things are expensive? Liabilities, personal liabilities, accidents happen. And then we have to accept the fact that at the end of the day, there may be a surviving spouse situation. What happens if I lose my husband? What happens if I lose my wife? What now? And so those are often the common things that it's not fun, it's not pleasant to think about them. But when that critical moment happens, there's already so much emotion running high. You've got to have a plan in place. You've got to have someone you can turn to for that help.
And these are the areas that they don't want to think about and talk about. But as good advisors and financial planners, we need to make them prepare for these and talk about them. The surviving spouse one is a common one. When somebody may be 10 years into retirement and we ask them, if we're just meeting them, we're asking them, so how would income change if one of you survives the other? Or I should say, when one of you survives the other? And they often look at each other and say, I don't know. Their lifestyle is built around joint income. And they don't remember the decisions they made on their pensions if they have them. They don't understand very well the Social Security. Or they may understand it, but they haven't thought about how it's going to impact their day-to-day living. And so it's our job to think ahead on that. So if somebody has a nice reserve in assets, but they're going to have a very vulnerable situation in survivor, we can't encourage them to go out and spend all their money. We have to say, no, we have to be careful because that's going to be needed when one survives the other. For somebody who isn't going to have a loss of income in that situation, then we can encourage them to use their money. That becomes excess capital at that point. So very important conversations to have at the front end of retirement so we know how to think about this long term in the timelines. And more and more concern over the medical. People are not really paying much out of pocket for medical expenses in general, but they don't know if that's going to be true 10 years from now. People just don't know. It's a fear of the unknown of where this is all headed. So there is so much more detail that we can get into this, and then assuming we got some, we got some. See, I'm coming back to Jim Boy's language. We got some money left over.
That's our language here.
Yeah. The legacy piece is really getting people to think about, for all the money that they've accumulated and saved and will still have left over, maybe it's come from a couple generations of inheritance. Where does that money go just besides the children? Maybe that's where it goes, but we challenge them to think a little bit longer term than that. So, gosh, I can't believe we're running out of time. We've always got enough for 2 or 3 hours.
There's a lot to the planning side. I mean, the planning really sets you up for today, for the future, for the what ifs. What if I pass away? What if my spouse does? And I think the more you plan up front, the better off you're going to be. The decisions are already made. People aren't sitting around with their family going, okay, well, what should we have done or what should we do? So, the planning portion is definitely very important. And we're here at Talkin Money. We're very thankful for Colin Grail and Monica Reyes being here.
I want to give a thanks to Jeff for not only having us in the show, and he does, a couple times a year, he gives us this opportunity, and we really appreciate that. And we're good partners, business partners. He helps our clients and vice versa. But just for providing this service to the community, I think Jeff does a great job bringing topics to the surface and talking about them and having some fun with it. And I just want to thank Jeff for continuing to keep this program going. I think it's 9 years running, and it's a lot of Saturday mornings that he gives up to come out and talk to everybody. So
absolutely.
So thank you, Jeff.
Mahalo, Jeff.
Mahalo. And Jeff will be back next week. We'll be back 2 hours to our 2-hour show, starting again next weekend on Saturday morning at 9. So thank you very much, and aloha.
Talkin' money.